Nova Scotia mass shootings has come back up in the news again recently, and I'm going to show you the clip with Brenda Lucki and their conversation that I actually got off the Mass Casualty Commission website, and also I'm going to show you a clip of Trudeau being questioned about this afterwards. Now, if you're unsure, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what that's all about. So essentially, there was 21 people, if I can remember correctly, that were killed in the mass shootings back in 2020 in Nova Scotia, portapique, and there was, I think, another 6 or 8 people that were injured. And after that had all happened, the RCMP apparently, so Brenda Lucki, the commissioner of the RCMP, was being pressured by the government to get the Nova Scotia RCMP or police service to release the information on what guns were used because it was tied to pending gun legislation. Now, that's what was getting said, and I'm not 100% sure where in this clip it says that specifically, so I don't know if this is the right clip or whatever. Now, Darren Campbell, who is the superintendent who made that press conference, he said in a committee meeting that he left after about 20 minutes of the conversation. So this clip I'm going to show you is about 6 minutes long, and right around the 2-minute and 45-second part, I think, is where it is. So if you want to skip ahead to that, you can go and do that all you want. And then yeah, so you let me know what you think down in the comments, because I'm unsure where exactly it says that she was being pressured, unless there was a part of that clip that isn't being said. Apparently, this recording actually disappeared and it now resurfaced, so that's why this is kind of big news right now. And so then Justin Trudeau gets questioned about this. I'm going to show you that clip, and so he's asked about blah blah blah, and so he makes a statement that the RCMP released that information of what the gun was used about a couple months later. Well, that's not true, because I think it was about November of 2020 that someone from the government, I do believe, and don't quote me on this, but I think I made a video about this. So someone from the government went and requested the information on what guns were used, and that's how it ended up hitting the media. Now, I think it was the government that asked. It might have been the Prime Minister's office. It might have been the Public Health and Safety, Bill Blair's office at the time. But it also might have just been the media requesting it. But that's the only way that the gun information was actually released to the public. So anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments. Sorry, this is going to be a long video. The voice clip is 6 minutes long. Like I said, you can skip to the 2:45-second mark. Right around there is when that starts up. And then Justin Trudeau at the end being questioned about it. So you have yourself a wonderful day. And again, I apologize for this clip being long.
Had a conversation with Darren and raised the request that came from the deputy. So I reached back to Deputy Brennan to confirm what the command triangle as well as Superintendent Campbell were comfortable saying, and that was semi-automatic handguns, what can be considered assault weapons. So the deputy wrote back at around 2 o'clock to confirm. So to be clear, and in the email, Darren is not comfortable noting the make and or model of the weapon seized. I said, correct, the investigative team, including Darren. And then the second question was, will he be stating another location of the shooters was searched and was negative for any more weapons? I said he's prepared and will do his best to include this in a response on same or within his remarks. My intention was not to disrespect. I will own the fact that was not included or adjusted in his remarks.
Yeah, it's Dan here. Until almost 1:30 our time, and based on the prepping that we had done before, we were under the understanding that we wouldn't be providing any. And then we got the message from Leah's team member that the deputy commissioner wanted the handguns included in terms of number and type. And we then changed the answer, knowing that we were just literally minutes away from having the text of that loaded up for posting. So from my perspective, there was never any understanding that we would be actually changing his remarks, because those were pretty much a lock. We got the message an hour before he was going into that room. We changed the answer to, here are the number and the types, the semi-automatic handguns, and so on, like Leah just said. But it wasn't my understanding in prepping with Darren that was going to be, the statement itself was going to change.
Yeah, and Karen, sorry, go ahead.
Does anybody realize what's going on in the world of handguns and guns right now? The fact that they're in the middle of trying to get a legislation going, the fact that that legislation is supposed to actually help police, and the fact that the very little information I asked to be put in speaking notes at around 11:30 this morning is when I started this, which was 3 or more hours before Darren was to speak, could not be accommodated. The fact that I asked almost 8 hours before for a chronology and a map couldn't be provided in 8 hours, but yet it could be provided on the 9th or 10th hour when it was too late, 4 days or 5 days after the event. So does anybody wonder why I feel frustrated, or I feel like I'm not being heard, which makes me feel disrespected? Is anybody seeing that, or is it just, am I being oversensitive?
It's Darren Campbell here. I just want to let you know that we had conversations with comms in and around the guns as if it was going to be a question asked. I wasn't given any kind of updated insertion on the weapons, so that never even made it into the notes that I was provided in terms of what I was going to deliver today. I didn't get any request from anybody for a timeline for this today at all, so I haven't seen.
No, not for today. This is for last Thursday. I had referred to that event because that happened to me last Thursday, where I had requested a timeline and a map. So,
well, all I can say is we worked tirelessly, all of us, on providing a proper and accurate timeline with so much information coming in and getting an accurate map with national headquarters as well, with the equipment we had, which is why we ended up with such an excellent product. I realized that there was a request for it to be done Thursday, but with what we had, and we were putting all the effort in, we couldn't get it all done on Thursday, but had the product ready to go, an accurate product on Friday. And that's not because we're all sitting here doing nothing. We're trying to put it all together with a lot of information.
I would never accuse you of sitting around and doing nothing.
My point is, we worked really hard on it to meet the deadline, and we couldn't meet it with the information that was coming in, and still wasn't available to provide a proper, accurate timeline at the deadline on Thursday.
Recordings released yesterday between Commissioner Lucky and the Nova Scotia RCMP. The Commissioner confirmed that she was responding to a request from a minister about firearms and stressed that your government was in the middle of trying to get firearms legislation going. What can you say to assure Canadians that this wasn't a sign the government was meddling in a police investigation?
In the days and weeks following the horrific massacre in Portapique, a killing that left communities reeling, families grieving, and Canadians from coast to coast to coast shocked. Canadians and those families wanted answers. We wanted to make sure that those families got as many answers as they could as quickly as possible, which is part of why we launched the public inquiry that's going on right now. But every step of the way, we recognized and supported the fact that the RCMP and police of jurisdiction are the ones who decide what is released and when. They make decisions about how to balance the need of the public to get answers and the need to protect the integrity of investigations. And as we saw in this case, it was the police that months later made that decision to release more information. We will always ask on behalf of Canadians for more answers, but we always ensure that the RCMP and police officers can do their jobs.
Okay, next question.